Welcome to the fourth episode of Exploring Energy, the Ultimate Healer. I'm your guide, Iram Saeed. Today, we meet Grace Hom, light alchemist and light language activator, who will be working with a client dealing with childhood trauma and ancestral stories. You know, it's almost a cliche talking about childhood trauma, but the reason it's a cliche is because it's so common and because it has such a profound and lasting effect on a person's entire life. For example, studies done with military personnel returning from war zones show that the vast majority of vets with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, were victims of childhood abuse. As we mentioned in episode 1, childhood trauma doesn't have to mean severe abuse. Sometimes a simple incident that doesn't seem at all meaningful to an adult can have a huge impact, laying down an initial trauma of loss. That draws more and more similar experiences of loss and abandonment as the years go by.
Emotional imbalance leads to physical symptoms because mind is a very strong entity. And if mind is disturbed, the physical body will suffer. There is a branch of science, which is medical science, which is called psychoneuroimmunology. So it says that if the psyche, if the mind is healthy, the nerves will be healthy. And as a result, the immune system will be healthy.
People who had adverse childhood experiences when they were 50 and 60 years old had more heart disease, more cancer, more hepatitis, more diabetes, more smoking, more suicide attempts, more and more of all the wrong things based on that emotional dysregulation that occurs from early childhood trauma and then the sequelae when they become adults. So emotion drives physiology to an astonishing degree. So that is the job of adulthood. You got messed up as a child. Your job as an adult is to unmess yourself up. You can do that psychologically. You can do that spiritually. It's absolutely essential to heal trauma. And if you try and go for the mountaintop, like Abraham Maslow had the hierarchy of needs with survival at the bottom and self-actualization at the top, if you try and climb that pyramid without first going below the pyramid and healing trauma, then that trauma becomes the dark side, becomes the shadow self.
My name is Grace Hom, and I'm an energy healer and a medical intuitive. So I work with people to solve their problems energetically, and I just feel called to do healing work that's going to transform the consciousness of the planet and allowing new energies and healing frequencies to be embodied so that more and more people will see that the real healer and the real healing is within themselves. You know, I used to work in healthcare, and since I was a little kid, I knew that I wanted to do something healing, so I went into healthcare. And then when I went into healthcare, I was told that I'm too sensitive to do any bedside stuff, so I better just stick with administrative stuff, which stressed me out. And I needed a different way to be in the world. So one day I happened to be in a weekend workshop with a medical intuitive. And she was describing what she was feeling, and she allowed herself to be emotional and feeling what was going on. And I thought, oh my God, there's a word for that. I did not know that medical intuition existed until then. And that the sensitivity was intuition, empathy, psychic abilities, being able to feel into what was going on. And I finally had clarity about why I was so depressed and sick, because I worked in a hospital and I was overwhelmed with all the emotions and drama that was going on in all the patients there.
The Akashic Records are a library of information. The word Akash actually means ether, so they're ethereal records, and they contain universally everything that's ever been done in multi-universes, that's occurring right now, and that could happen. But we all have our own personal Akashic records. And when you obtain rights to enter your own Akashic records, you can figure out everything you've gone through, everything that's happening to you right now, how it's impacting you, and all the potential futures that could unfold. So often we like to read our own records or somebody else's to figure out what's causing a current issue. What happens if I make X decision? What path does that take me down? Or what's really happening in my everyday world? How can I look at it with the best perspective to make the good decisions going forward?
So the Akashic Records allows us to go beyond space and time to remember where those traumas started and to start clearing them. And it's all just an energy. So it's just the energy of that fishbowl that we want to clean up and clear up so it no longer shows up in the body. The energy vibration and translate it back into verbal expressions that allows the client to understand what's going on, because you're already feeling it anyway. They're already feeling the pain. They're already feeling the tiredness, the stagnation. But what that's communicating to them, they may not always know. An intuitive healer is really supportive of their healing journey because we can give objectivity to the whole process that they would not have if they were just healing themselves, even though we are all capable of healing ourselves. So I can translate the sound energy, the energy vibrations into language that they can relate to. And I can usually relate to what's going on in their lives. That's where the intuition comes in, to be able to translate energy into language and archetypal language that's relatable. I love the field of epigenetics and the work of Bruce Lipton. And that got me to really see that I can change my thoughts, I can change my DNA, I can change my reality, I can reprogram my subconscious mind. So what he is saying, what epigenetics is, that there's nothing wrong with the fish, you just got to clean up the fishbowl. And then the Akashic Records is the memory of who you are, no matter what fishbowl you've ever been in. When I work with clients, what I realize is that sometimes there's DNA that has memory, and there's a study that's been done. I know it's been done on earthworms, and I know that humans are humans, but there's a study that's been done on, I think, 7 or 23 generations of earthworms that says unhealed trauma passes on for many, many, many generations. And this is where the Akashic Records allows us to know your past lives, like the different fishbowls you've been in your whole life, and what created those issues that may be present and that you don't even know that it's there. And I realized at this time, many people who are seeking healing, they're seeking healing because they're the ones who will be healing unhealed trauma for many, many generations, because humanity, the history of humanity, has been through war, famine, war. And to change the energy of the planet, we need to change that subconscious energy that's influencing everybody and puts everyone in fear. That's the energy of war, unhealed trauma. How it shows up in families is abuse, addictions, even disease that we don't know where it comes from. Sometimes there are diseases that come from environmental factors, but a lot comes from unhealed trauma that we still have DNA memory as well as cellular memory of.
So for most of us, patterns in our family seem really, really personal. And yet often they stem from something as strong as a meta event. A meta event is a large event that affects a great portion of society and then echoes down through the system. And as I said, you can feel it as something that's very personal. So, for example, if we have a look at the Great Depression, with the Great Depression came a pattern of, be careful, you don't know where your next meal is coming from. We don't have a lot. Guard what you have. Watch out. And that can then echo down through the generations as symptoms of hoarding, or as people who always have to have two of something, or they're really pernickety about having a full pantry. So you see these patterns that begin as something that affected a large group, but then echo down and begin to affect you individually.
Hello, Leah. Thank you for being here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So, give me 3 things you really like for me to work on.
Energy levels. Gosh, general, I think one of the things I've been working with is nightmares and anxiety and fear. Like fear's been a really big one for me lately.
Okay. I'm really feeling just to start bringing in all the confusion, just releasing it through your meridians. So I'm going to touch your knees lightly. And I'm going to clear a layer of energy that feels like picking up on vicarious trauma. And I know that at this time, many empathic people are always picking up on the trauma around the world, which is called vicarious trauma. So I'm gonna see how much of that you're carrying. And it really just feels like you're almost the universal surrogate, because a part of you wants to help clear a lot of problems in humanity. So you have a big heart, and that people with big heart, not a fault of your own, tend to also pick up on all the vicarious trauma in their bodies. And it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's a good thing. I think it's really good that you're receiving this healing, that you know to ask for healing, because sometimes we all need it. So this is great. And I'm just going to tune into all the grief. Any and all issues you're picking up on. So it's the general grief and all the distorted energies and perceptual distortions that are created by stuff around you. And I'm going to clear stuff from the back of your throat for a second here. So all the ways you feel like you have to shut yourself down. And that brings me to a pattern of energy that feels like abandonment fear. And you may have other words for it. So however that shows up in your life, however that shows up in your life, I'm going to clear this old pattern about fear of abandonment. If you speak your truth, and fear of abandonment, if you truly allow yourself to shine. So I'm just going to ask your body how many masks, how much masking you are doing, masking your own genius, your magnificence, masking your joy in order to be more in the vibration of the masses. So that sympathy towards people that created you to mask your joy, I'm going to clear that. I know that comes from a loving, compassionate space. And does that resonate with you? Yeah, I'm feeling a lot of heat in my own body as I'm taking it off, and I wonder how that feels to you. But as it feels true, that's all that matters. Yeah, so we know that that pattern is communicating loudly and clearly, and that it's being received and clear.
So actually, something at the top of my head is activating as you're saying all this, which is...
Yeah, great. So all those programs are being cleared and deleted. Now I'm getting third grade teacher and some classmate, and how you started seeing yourself differently because of something that happened in the 3rd grade.
We had a third grade teacher that would sit on us when we were bad. My parents actually pulled me out of school and put me into homeschooling because it was such an ordeal.
Okay, so when I tap into whatever I was tapping into, I saw third grade. Okay, let's clear that now. Everything. So everything that she did is about her. And I know that cognitively, removing that from the third grader, that was you. And let that third grader know that she didn't do anything wrong. She's wise. So it's clearing all the false information you buy into about you because of her. And all the decisions and choices you make in your life with her in the background, overlooking you. Let's clear her from your background. So now, when you think about that, what is that feeling like now?
Honestly, I feel like I can see like this big yellow golden ball.
Okay, so let me see energetically what is going on. Liver, gallbladder, thyroid.
Yeah, I don't have a thyroid. I had thyroid cancer and it was removed.
When it comes to the thyroid gland situated in the throat, in many spiritual systems, thyroid issues are energetically connected to humiliation, not being allowed to express yourself, and being subject to consistent critical inner self-talk.
So just think about your new thyroid medication right now, and I'm gonna put your body's energy in harmony with receiving from that medication. Just gonna match that to not only your thyroid, adrenals, all your endocrine glands. Excellent, wonderful. This brings me to the hidden loyalties and hidden set points to how much joy, success you're allowed in life, how much creative energy, how much visionary energy you're allowed. So all the set points, your parents, grandparents, around success, money, fame, will you allow your body and your energy to delete those set points now?
When you notice yourself struggling to thrive and something keeps holding you back, you can't name it, you can't identify it, but by goodness, every time you're about to be successful, you U-turn right at the point of success. What you may want to do is go looking for the hidden loyalty. Who else almost had success and U-turned? So when you find yourself hitting the same brick wall over and over again, chances are you're hitting a hidden loyalty. It belongs to someone else, but we have a strong loyalty to that person or the system, and it's a hidden and subconscious loyalty, and so we repeat the pattern.
So it feels like, the suffering that our ancestors went through, there's hidden loyalties to them because there's so much respect for what they have to go through and give up in life, that creates hidden loyalties. And I'm just going to ask your ancestors to bless you, to blossom and really be as magnificent as you can in every way. You already make them proud, so you already make them proud. Is what they're saying. You already make them proud.
To move beyond the hidden loyalty, you've actually got to move beyond what we call the conscience of the system. The rules and the regulations that say we all do it this way in the system to belong.
I mean, I didn't have any expectations just because I feel like every healer has their own thing. And so the more open I can be to whatever this person is doing, the more I can receive their unique medicine. So I had no idea what to expect. I felt very seen. I felt like, part of me is like, well, everybody deals with these issues. Isn't this everybody's thing? But then also, like, so much of what she said was so specific to like my life's work of busting through. And so I think I started seeing connections that I hadn't been seeing before in terms of, right, like my energy level and how I'm experiencing it is connected to my life force and how much I'm willing to live in the world. And yes, there's the story of the thyroid condition and all of that, but that's like, I don't know, like after this session, I'm almost like, oh, that's kind of like static. And there's actually a much bigger expression that's being lived through me. And I'd much rather focus on that and get out of this other story that's actually almost designed to keep me in this conundrum of illness and in a medical system. And before the session, I've been really grappling with a lot of fear, that's just like pounding on my consciousness all day long. How am I going to live in this world? What do I need to do to survive? Like, what's going to happen next year or 6 months from now? Or do I need to move? Like, and just the level of nightmares that I've been having that have been creating even more fear about what could possibly happen in our world. I think hearing some of the context of being reminded, right, I'm an empath, and there's got to to not believe everything that I feel when being a sensitive person feels a lot more than just more. But what I would say is during our session, I felt this like big yellow globe just open up in my center. And it was almost like my core life force was just brightened. Like, I don't know, it did. There's something in it that it almost, I feel sorky saying this, it almost like shined out the fear. It was just like, and all this stuff's going to happen, but like this core life force is right here. And I feel like I have a lot more access to it. And I don't have a lot of words for it right now because it's new.
Yeah, at that moment, I was tuning into energy. I literally see blackboard, a chalkboard, green chalkboard, 3rd grade on it. And then I saw a student sitting in a chair feeling anxious like this. And I figured that would be her, a representation of who she is. And that's what I saw at that moment. So I feel like, interesting. But again, I have to just communicate what comes through.
Akashic records, soul history, ancestral wounds, emotional DNA, hidden loyalties, childhood trauma. If it seems like there are a lot of factors contributing to a human dis-ease, you're right, there are. But as you've seen, it doesn't have to take years and years of talk therapy to address these kinds of issues. It takes the attention and the sensitivity of an experienced healer and an openness and willingness in the client to let old wounds and issues go. The combination of direct healing energy and surrender on the part of the client can open the door for extraordinary things to happen. Before we wrap up episode 4, here's a tip from one of our healers, Cindy Dale, about being your own energy guide.
I would say for anybody, whether you're well acquainted or not acquainted with energy medicine at all, become your own energy medicine specialist. So you get to trust your own body. You get to trust your own intuition. You get to trust your own sense of what to do and where to go. You don't need to cut out standard care, traditional care, get your annuals. If you've got something going on, go get an x-ray, go get this and that and the other thing, but listen to your gut. Listen, kind of pay attention to your dreams. If you get 3 people in a day telling you, you might want to look at your emotions or this or that or the other thing. Start taking in the signs from your own self and from the outside world and become your own frontier. Bring yourself to that place where you're working with the subtle energies knowingly, as well as your own physical energies.
It's not that hard to start tuning into our own energy body and the life energies around us. Everything, especially our body, is sending us important messages all day long. We just have to remember to get quiet. Take a few moments and tune in. In our next episode of Exploring Energy, the Ultimate Healer, you'll meet Dawn Crystal, an internationally recognized voice sound healer, medical intuitive, soul reader, pain release expert, and the author of several best-selling books on healing. She will be using sound healing to address emotional issues and able to assist in the mitigation of peripheral neuropathic pain as a complication of diabetes. If you have questions or would like to connect with other like-minded people, just like yourself, that are exploring energy healing, please visit us at blissupnow.com.
Dance of bringing matter to existence. I find it in the manner of your voice. We'll call upon the ocean for assistance to swallow all our doubts and speed our voice.